Alex Jones shares some of the scariest Democrat news I've shared in a long time. AG Letitia James of New York has been indicted on mortgage fraud to get better loan rates and make more money in the state of Virginia. She, of course, says this is all Donald Trump's fault, and I'll show you why it's absolutely not. Antifa is being exposed, and former FBI Director James Comey was arraigned with a trial set for 60 days from now. Thank you guys so much for liking and sharing these videos. Let's jump right in. Yesterday, President Donald Trump announced during a roundtable with independent journalists Jack Posobiec and Nick Sorter that he planned to label Antifa a foreign terrorist organization, citing extensive ties to Western Europe and even the Middle East. Nick Sorter, who was recently attacked and arrested in Portland while covering an anti-ICE protest, showed President Trump a burned American flag recovered during the attack. President Trump said, "I want these people identified and I want Pam Bondi to prosecute them." Jack Posobiec noted that Antifa has a century-old history linked to several recent attacks of violence, including Charlie Kirk, the shells from Antifa logos or slogans like "Hey Fascist, Catch" or "Bella Ciao." He said the pattern of attacks involve figures like Luigi Mangione and Thomas Matthew Crooks, urging the federal government to act to prevent further murder. Now, building on those concerns, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem issued strong warnings in a related New York Post interview. Also speaking at the White House roundtable, chaired by President Trump, Kristi Noem stated, "They are just as dangerous. They have an agenda to destroy us, just like other terrorists we've dealt with. So now they will be labeled a terrorist organization with international ties." Attorney General Pam Bondi vowed to destroy Antifa, comparing it to drug cartels. "We're going to take the same approach, destroy the entire organization from top to bottom." And journalists Andy Ngo, Julia Rosa, and Brandy Cruz noted that Antifa's loose, decentralized structure make it hard to target, but stressed that the focus should be on prosecuting criminals caught in the act of assaulting or rioting. The administration says it plans to dismantle the group through federal crackdown as protests continue in Portland and other cities. Now, earlier today, Attorney General Letitia James of New York, a fierce legal adversary of Donald Trump, was indicted by a federal grand jury in Alexandria, Virginia, on charges of bank fraud and making false financial statements to financial institutions. The same thing she went after Trump for. The allegations center on a 2023 mortgage she obtained for a 3-bedroom home in Norfolk, Virginia, where prosecutors claim she misrepresented the property as her second residence to secure a lower interest rate, allegedly netting an improper $18,933 gain over the life of the loan. Additional scrutiny involves a Brooklyn family property and an old family mortgage document, but the core case in Virginia revolves around this investment property not being a rental property, but rather a primary property. Letitia James' office wasted no time framing the indictment as Trump's personal vendetta. In a statement, she decried it as a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system, insisting he was forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding simply because she did her job securing a $454 million civil fraud judgment against Donald Trump and his organization. Her lawyer, Abe Lowell, echoed this, calling it the most blatant example of this administration carrying out the president's political retribution campaign. Trump, who has publicly railed against James as a partisan enemy and urged charges via social media and rallies, appointed key figures like FHFA Director William Pult and interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan to oversee the probe, replacing holdouts who saw insufficient evidence. Yet Letitia James' blame game glosses over a critical reality. President Trump had no direct hand in the evidence gathering process. This was Sam Antar, who I interviewed. The FBI launched the investigation in May of 2025 based on Pulte's referral, amassing documents through subpoena to James's office, untainted by White House interference. Similarly, the grand jury, an independent body of Virginia citizens, reviewed that evidence and voted, finding probable cause without any sway from President Trump. Now, lawyer Halligan presented the case herself, but grand juries operate shielded from executive meddling per constitutional design. Now, critics like MSNBC already reported internal DOJ resistance, with prosecutors deeming evidence as thin, yet the panel proceeded. So a jury of her own peers in the state of Virginia, in a grand jury, decided that there was enough evidence that she should go to court. Now, James' narrative conveniently ignores this procedural firewall, painting a baseless conspiracy to deflect from her alleged guilt. Ironic, given her career prosecuting similar deception. Now, this saga underscores a vicious cycle. Letitia James hammered President Trump for inflating assets to snag better loans, only to face mirroring accusations. While political pressure looms large, the indictment's foundation rests on evidentiary merit, not Oval Office puppetry. Essentially, she's going to blame Donald Trump, even though this was a jury of her peers in a grand jury in the state of Virginia. Now, let me remind the audience that Letitia James said many things that will now be used against her. And it's going to be very interesting to see how she tries to come back from this one based on things that she herself had to say. Let me show you a few of those right now.
That simple but fundamental pillar of our democracy, that the rule of law applies to all of us equally, fairly, and justly.
So doesn't matter who you are. If you go through the legal system and a grand jury says you need to be investigated, it's going to happen. If another judge or jury decides you are guilty, it's going to happen. But now she's using the blame game to try to get away with it. But let me remind you what she had to say from her own lips.
My message is simple. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law. And it is my responsibility and my duty and my job to enforce it. The law is both powerful and fragile. And today in court, we will prove our case. I thank you all for being here. And again, justice will prevail. Thank you.
It doesn't matter how rich you are or how powerful you are. If you broke the law, we're going to come after you. Nobody is above the law, right? So it doesn't matter that she used fraud and misrepresentation in order to make more money and secure a better loan. It doesn't matter that she's the attorney general. It matters that it never became her primary residence. It matters that she made false statements, and it matters that she was going to financially benefit. So yeah, she is definitely going down, and I'm here for it. I just want to see what actually comes out of this. Now, a grand jury and FBI investigation on other fraud allegations in the state of New York are still pending. So Miss Letitia James could find herself fighting Virginia and New York at the same time. Though the $10 million Governor Kathy Hochul gave Letitia James of taxpayer money to pay her legal bills, none of that money will be useful or allowed as she defends herself in the great state of Virginia. Pretty crazy. Let me know in the comments what you think. All right, now Alex Jones and Congressman Tommy Tuberville revealed some of the most damning stories, and I just have to show them to you, and then we'll react to them together because honestly, I was blown away. Listen to this.
I was shocked, but then really not surprised at the end of the day, Alex, as crooked as these people have been for 4 years, just lying out their teeth about borders closed. We need to send money, more money to different countries around the world where it's just turning around, coming back to them. It's just absolutely amazing me since I've been here for 4 years. And as you said, we need farmers, we need educators, we need business people up here that love this country. And I'm going to tell you, the people, the whistleblowers that blew the whistle on this, the Elite Eight is what I call it. The whistleblowers are the ones that should be patted on the back. They're true patriots. And I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what Jack Smith was thinking, or Christopher Wray, Joe Biden, Barack Obama. We do have Americans in this country that still love the United States of America. They don't want to see it destroyed, but they are trying every possible way. They got reckless. And as I said earlier, the word I'm getting is there's more things coming out that is going to shock this country. And I'm going to tell you, the next year is going to be really scary in terms of what we're probably going to see, that we had an inclination that was happening. We just couldn't put our finger on it, why they were doing it, why they were opening these borders and doing all the things that basically were destroying our country from within. What they were trying to do is build an army within this country that they could support, that would support their deep state mentality. And they were going to turn these illegals against us and weaponize them and put them in a situation where they could keep their power and slowly take this country over. If there was a fight, they were going to be involved in it. If they needed to create a fight, they were going to get them to start a fight. Same thing with Antifa, same thing that they're trying to do, but they needed more numbers. And so they were just letting 5, 6, 7,000 people in a day. They were weaponizing them. And we're going to find out probably a lot of different things from behind the scenes once these whistleblower contacts have been made. Cash Patel and them do all their investigation, but it's going to be a slow process. But at the end of the day, you've hit it nail on the head. First of all, people in Alabama will know, Coach, when are they going to put people in jail? We know they're crooked. We got to put them in jail. I've told Pam Bondi that. I've told all the people in the DOJ, listen, start indicting folks. Let's go. We're going to run out of time here because if we don't do it, they're going to do it again to us in a couple of years.
All right. Isn't that crazy? A bunch of stuff is about to come out. And what we believe they were doing is they were bringing in Tren de Aragua gang leaders, 30,000 gang leaders from Venezuela. They were setting Antifa up. They were also allowing 20 million illegals into the country, a large percentage of those being military-aged men. So now he says we're getting word that they were literally building all these different factions and like a personal army of people that they could unleash, similar to Black Lives Matter during the Summer of Love, where they unleashed Black Lives Matter and Antifa onto the American people. 140 cities burned that summer. Now imagine what would happen once they unleashed Tren de Aragua, Antifa, and all of these military-aged men. Pretty dang scary, right? I think so anyway. Now, Hakeem Jeffries, bless his heart, he really is a dollar store Barack Obama. CNBC Money hosts raked Hakeem Jeffries over the coal, used his own words against him, and forced him to lie on live TV in order to save face. I want to show that to you, but first, a word from today's video sponsor. A dangerous amount of microplastics are now being found in our water, food, bloodstream, even our brains. These tiny plastic particles, often invisible to the naked eye, carry toxic chemicals like BPA that disrupt hormones, damage DNA, and inflame our organs. They affect everything from metabolism to fertility, and have even been linked to cancer, neurological disorders, autoimmune disease, and developmental issues in children. The worst part, There's no way to avoid exposure. It's everywhere. But there is a way to fight back, and it starts in your gut. Your gut is your first line of defense. A healthy microbiome can bind to and break down microplastic toxins before they poison your cells. But if your own gut is compromised, those toxins sneak right through, wreaking havoc on your immune system, energy levels, digestion, skin, even your brain. That's why we're healing our guts through kimchi. Now, kimchi restores the gut flora in your gut. Because in a world full of plastic, your gut needs to be bulletproof. Today, you can get an exclusive offer by clicking on the link below, or you can use code Gardner to get 25% off your order. For an even better deal, call my friends at Brightcore right now to get up to 50% off your order and free shipping. This stuff is great. It's been awesome for my gut, my bowels, my digestion, bowel movements. It's been awesome. And why save 25% when you can save up to 50% and get free shipping? Again, give them a call at 888-908-4425. All right. They really are great. I keep it right here on my desk so that I remember to take it every day. Okay. Now, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, he gets absolutely schooled by CNBC money hosts where they use his own words against him. He ends up having to lie on national TV to save face and just look stupid. Let's go ahead and watch this together.
Government open and then going into the normal appropriations process. I mean, there was an election, and the Republicans were put in a position where they were able to pass the big, beautiful bill, or you call it the big, ugly bill. To then say, we don't like any of that, so we're going to shut down the government until you take back all the things that you duly passed through legislation. If Republicans had tried to do that to the Inflation Reduction Act or the any of the acts that Biden and that administration have passed, if they said we're going to shut down the government because we don't like any of those things you did, we're going to not pay our military, we're going to, not allow the government to reopen until you do what we want. After an election where the American people put Democrats in power, you'd be going crazy. You'd be going crazy about using a shutdown of the government with a continuing resolution to get what you want just because you don't like what the Republicans did. It's not how it works. It's bad. It's bad precedent, and it's just clear. And you're talking about the House. You've already passed this. The Senate is who we're talking about, and they have a bill which will reopen the government right now with 5 more Democrats.
All right. So he's like, listen, the American people put Trump and Republicans in office. They passed a bill. You were part of passing that bill. And now you're holding the American people, the military, our seniors, pregnant women hostage because you don't like Trump and you want to get something else. Now listen to him lie to save face.
What is bad precedent is the Republican refusal to engage in bipartisan negotiations. What is bad precedent is the Republicans embarking on a my way or the highway approach from the very beginning of this Congress. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Joe, you're exactly right. So if the government shuts down, they've made the decision to shut the government down. And they can reopen it right now if they chose to, with a rule change in the Senate. But I just explained it. The reality is they want to keep the government closed. Cruelty from the very beginning of this administration has been the point. And the responsible thing to do is to sit down and negotiate a bipartisan path forward to address a very real health.
See what he's saying here is they're not letting us have what we want because they're cruel. So these guys shut down the government to try to make Trump look bad. Almost all polling shows that the Democrats look like the idiots. And then he goes on to say it's because MAGA and Trump are cruel.
Care crisis that's upon us right now. Open enrollment starts
can you
on
do that?
November
Can you do
1st.
those negotiations while the government is reopened? I think that's the offer that's been on the table. We did hear the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, talking about how, look, he passed a clean CR. There's not really much for him to politic in because there's nothing to take out, any Republican pork that they pushed into this to take out of it to offer as a way of getting around this. Can you reopen the government and have these conversations if there's a willing party on the other side, which it sounds like there is if you talk to some of the Republicans who see this as an issue in their district as well?
Well, certainly Marjorie Taylor Greene has made clear that it's a very real issue. It's an issue that Republicans have ignored throughout this year, and it's an issue that needs to be addressed right now. Mike Johnson has made the representation, including at that White House meeting that we had last week, after Chuck Schumer and I reached out to demand that we have the conversation. Unfortunately, it took place literally a day before the government shut down because Republicans have refused to engage in bipartisan negotiations.
They haven't refused anything except they don't want to give you what you want. It was already removed in the big, beautiful bill, which you guys voted on. But now you don't want to pass a clean resolution, even though that's exactly what Republicans did when Joe Biden was in control. So it's just complete and total hypocrisy. All right, turning to legal news, NBC reports that former FBI Director James Comey yesterday pled not guilty in federal court to charges of making false statements and obstructing a congressional proceeding. James Comey, who Trump fired during his first term, is accused of lying to Congress in 2017 and 2020 about authorizing leaks tied to the FBI's Russia investigation under special counsel Robert Mueller. During his arraignment, Comey's attorney, Patrick Fitzgerald, waived the reading of the indictment, requested a jury trial, and announced plans to challenge the charges as vindictive prosecution. So when they do it to Trump, it's justice. But when Trump's Justice Department does it to Letitia James or to James Comey, then it's retribution. It's vindictive. It's revenge. They also plan to question the appointment of attorney Lindsay Halligan, Trump's former personal lawyer, calling it unlawful. In about 60 days, this trial will start in the month of January, and we will learn where we're going to go with this. All right, that's my update for today. Let me know what you guys think about what was shared on the Alex Jones show, that what they were trying to do is take over the country through these votes, and if not, to use these people as their own personal military. No wonder President Trump is trying so hard to get these people out of the country. Also, let me know what you think about Letitia James going down. The evidence is clear. Trump had nothing to do with this, and Sam Antar, the FBI, and a grand jury had everything to do with her downfall. And it will be her own doing because she signed the documents, not Donald J. Trump. All right, I love you guys. Stay amazing, and I will see you on the next video.